So welcome, Susan, to our Full Sail webinar. This webinar is for the Public Relations Master's students and also the journalism students in our program. And I just wanted to introduce you and say hello for the students who don't know me. I am an instructor in the Public Relations Master's degree program, and I specialize in teaching social media. I also have a background in documentary filmmaking, so one of the things that I teach is brand videos. That's something that's near and dear to me, branding and also video making. And another thing that's near and dear to me is my good friend Susan Roderick, who I met 7 years ago, Susan, in Nepal.
Wow.
And we've both kind of come a long way and actually haven't seen each other much in between that time. But that's the amazing thing about social media. We've stayed in contact with each other. Susan made it an amazing video for my company, a nonprofit that works in Nepal during the earthquakes, and she's been producing a lot of great stuff. So I invited her here tonight to speak with you guys. And Susan, I just wanted to have you introduce sort of what you do before we get into the how-to of what you do with Filmic Pro.
Filmic Pro is it's basically the premier video app for iOS devices, so for iPhones and iPads. So it's basically the #1 video app that you can buy that will create professional looking video just using your mobile device. And I work as the creative director, so I'm responsible for just cranking out the creativity, basically. In this day and age, you just have to have content, constantly. So whether that's photos, video, Instagram, anything on social media, just creating kind of an online presence, basically, is what I've been doing for Filmic Pro.
And for the students that don't know, there was just an award won from a film that was shot with the Filmic Pro app, right? Tangerine?
Tangerine was in the Sundance Film Festival. They didn't win an award at the Sundance, but that was a full-length feature film shot entirely using an iPhone 5S with Filmic Pro, and it did actually get picked up by Magnolia Pictures for global showing. So it won an award ultimately as a film, just because it did get picked up and is now showing like around the world. So that's pretty cool.
It really is amazing that with an iPhone you can shoot a film of that quality today. And we do teach in our journalism program how to shoot with mobile devices, because that's something that's getting really popular in journalism as well. So maybe at the end of this we'll talk a little bit, because I know you have some how-tos about how to shoot nice videos with a mobile device. So maybe at the end we'll have time for some questions about that. But what I want to go into and what we're talking about tonight is how to make a great brand video. And as you know, a couple months ago, we were online, both on Facebook, and I saw one of your videos and I loved it. And I thought this is perfect for my students. So I want to talk about the video that you made for Jessica Swift. I love the video. It captures the personality and the product of this artist so well, and it uses very little words. So before we talk about it, for the students who haven't seen it, let's just go ahead and take a look at this video by Susan Roderick. It takes 2 minutes, and I want the students that are online to really look critically at this and think about, how did she shoot this video? Why did she get these shots? And what is the story that she's trying to tell here? Remember, we're talking about brand stories. And we end with the cat. I love the cat. That's one of my favorite parts, and we'll talk about the cat in a minute at the end. And I want to leave this up here on our screen and kind of go through it as we're talking. But let's start at the very beginning, Susan. So when you started this, I assume Jessica contacted you and said something like, I need a brand video or something like that. And then where did you start with this in the creative process?
Well, actually, I will say though that I did a free video for a girl that I really liked her stuff, and she basically introduced me to Jessica, who I got work from, and then Jessica introduced me to her friends. So I am people say don't give away your work free, but if you're just getting started, I do recommend like offering certain people who you know may influence other people or be connected in a certain way, that it's a good idea to just put your work out there. So that's how I met Jessica, and I knew she was a painter and that she was a crafter.
Mm-hmm.
So I basically, talked to her about what she wanted. That's probably the best place to start, is just to talk to the client about what vision they have, and you have to go from there. So that's
So
you find out what
know?
they want to include.
I saw that Jessica has a really nice online website where she sells her products. Before she talked to you, did she know that she needed a brand video, or was it you who convinced her you really need a brand video and I can help you with that?
No, she did know. I mean, I feel like basically anyone that has an online presence in this day and age knows that they need to get into video. I mean, you see it everywhere.
Okay.
So, I mean, it's the obvious next step for everyone. So you're trying to find a way into that. If you don't know how to shoot it for yourself, then it's hard to find somebody that maybe has an aesthetic that you like. So she had the advantage of seeing videos of mine, and she resonated with kind of my brand.
But she resonated with your brand and said, okay, I'd like you to make a video for me. So what is the process that you took before shooting this video? You knew what her work was like. What type of creative process did you go through to prepare yourself to shoot this, to have this idea of this is what I want to capture with Jessica?
Well, I mean, part of the way that I do things is I try to plan as much as I can ahead. I'm not very good at that because I do just go in, and I'm probably more one of those people that will overshoot things and then go into the edit room and figure out what I want the story to be.
Mm-hmm.
But I know that that's not the way you're supposed to do things. You're supposed to plan things out, and so you can just shoot to edit. It makes it a lot more simple. Mm-hmm. So I kind of struggle with that process, but I did talk to her about, okay, let's list all the things that you want to say in your video. And then, you're trying to tell a story, so you have to plan the story out. Because if you miss those pieces of the story, when you're back in the editing room, you'll kick yourself for not shooting them.
Right.
So you do want to plan out the entire story with the client. And I used to think that I wanted it to be something really special, some really special story, but it's almost better to stick with a basic story. Tell the person's story. Okay, I'm a painter. I paint in my studio. These are my paints. These are my crafts. These are all the things that I make. This is Jessica's story. I love to make patterns. And these are the things I create with my patterns, and I want to sell those. And this is what I want to say. So you take a simple kind of explanation of what they want it to be, and you just follow that.
Yeah, so you kind of do an interview to start
Yes.
out with, what do you want, and then kind of how much do you let the client be part of that creative process?
I mean, I feel like that's the
Your-
ultimate struggle, right, for
Uh-huh.
every artist,
Mm-hmm.
is to find that balance between serving the client's needs and being true to your own, artistic desires. So, part of my thing is I really put my brand out there, like this is how I like to shoot. I like to shoot really shallow depth of field. I like things to be out of focus. So I have a shooting style, and I want the person to resonate with that, so I don't have to really sacrifice, my visual kind of aesthetic.
Mhm.
But as far as the story goes and what they want to say, it's up to you to tell their story, but you have to do it in the most logical sense, in the most logical way. So sometimes they want to tell a story where it's like, I want to show that I create these products and then I want to cut outside to like Dancing in the Rain. And it doesn't really make sense. That story doesn't necessarily, it's harder to tell that story. So
Mhm.
you kind of have to let them tell the story they want to tell, as long as it makes sense and you get all the shots you need. But as far as like the creative look, um, you know, you have to decide how much influence or decision making a client has.
So you have a unique video, especially for a brand story, and that this one, you're telling her story without using very many words. How did you decide to go with that aesthetic of I'm just going to do text on screen and not have her talking at all in this?
Well, I prefer to do more like music videos, like that's more my style than to have dialogue,
Hmm.
but um, because that adds a whole nother element, and I think that she wanted to do a music video, and then I showed her the first edit, and I told her I feel like it's missing something. It could be more powerful if we used words. And so then she wrote me some words that she thought might be interesting. And then I went to her page and just saw that she had, written a couple paragraphs, and I liked some of the things that she said. So I wrote some things down and sent that back to her, and we just kind of compromised on some words that we thought were represented her and were powerful. And then she's an artist, so I asked her to draw out the words, which is also part of her brand.
Oh, so she actually
So
drew those words that you show up
she,
there. That's great.
yeah, she painted them and then sent me the PDF or sent me the PSDs, and then I put it in the video.
Edited it in. Okay, great. I love that style. I think it works really well. I love the music that you chose for this. Maybe we'll talk about the music in a minute, because what I want to go into is your beginning, middle, and end, and I want to show the students, if we go back here, very specific about this, about starting with the canvas. And she puts up the canvas and she's like kind of getting her paints out. She puts her apron on. It's a very clear, natural beginning to the video, but it shows that she's starting to create something. How did you decide I want to show her actually starting to create a painting?
I mean, this is what I was saying about you actually do want to tell a cliche story, like how I was trying to make the story different or interesting, but people want people want to watch the story as it unfolds, and this is the natural story of, she does start out with a blank canvas. She is a painter, and I love all the details of her art, so it's really easy to make it visually interesting. But it's just the basic story, like you start with a blank canvas, this is what you paint, then you go into creating something different. So you just want to make sure you get all those shots. And the other thing is, if you just shoot, kind of wide, medium, and close-up shots of everything, then you can just go in and do this. You go down the list, the studio, the art supplies, the paintbrushes. You just kind of tick off. You just go down the list of what is in the studio,
What does
and
she
then you can
have
just,
here is basically what
yeah, exactly.
capturing. What does it take to make this painting? So even for this shot that we're seeing here, which is a close-up, you you shot a wide, medium, and close-up of this same shot, and then in the editing process you decided, okay, I want to cut to this and this is what I'm going to use in this, but you had the other shots, is that right?
Pretty much, and I tell the client, I'll say, I'm going to take multiple shots of the same thing. So before you actually put the paintbrush on the canvas, I'm going to need to change my lenses and take multiple shots of this shot. And I might not do that for every shot, but there are shots that you just want to make sure that you have that, and then however you want to tell the story later is what shot you'll choose. I mostly will go with close-up shots and really like out of focus shots or with a very shallow depth of field. So I gravitate more to those shots that I shoot, but I do have a wide angle or a medium shot of the same thing most likely.
So while we're talking about beginnings, there's another brand video on your reel of I believe it's a photographer who does she does baby photography or maternity photography, and in that one you have a very different beginning because it shows the people actually coming into the photography studio, right?
Yeah,
Something
they're
like
coming
that,
into her store. Yeah, yeah,
right?
exactly. She's got a studio and a store, so they're coming in as clients and
So the point I'm trying to make there for the students is you clearly are always thinking of what is the beginning of this? Where do I start this video? How's it going to start for the audience? And so you had to get
I
that
mean,
shot of people actually coming in order to make this work, to make it have a beginning.
you basically have to, I learned the hard way because I didn't go to film school. I didn't really learn this, so I would go in somewhere and I just start shooting, and you come back and you want to edit it and you don't have a story. You don't have the shots you need to tell the story. You learn that the hard way. So then the next time you go out and shoot, you make sure you have everything. You've got everything covered from other different angles. You've got everything, you've got the story. You want to make sure that you have that because otherwise you can't go back and reshoot it, most likely.
Right. And I think a lot of
You
people can relate with that because whether you went to film school or not, you've always, I mean, most of us have had that novice experience of starting to edit something and going, oh my gosh, I feel like I went out there and shot for hours and I have nothing here. I have nothing to put together.
Yeah,
It wasn't the right
you
thing.
really don't. Or you don't have the B-roll that will help you transition from, shot to shot. You don't have I always forget basically like setting up the shot and getting, just that first wide angle shot, and I'll come back and sometimes I won't even use it, but I just want to make sure I have it in case I need to show the whole scene to
Hmm.
tell the story.
So I want to show something here that I think was sort of an unplanned shot, and we'll see if it's true here. This is loading a little bit slowly, but maybe I can get there. And what I'm talking about, so you know, is I'm looking for the cat in the window. I don't know if she's
Yeah,
before.
I think you passed it.
Yeah, she comes kind
Yeah,
of
you passed it.
early, right? Let's see. And it's kind of
There it
right
is.
after this, I think. Um, and I think for me, again, as a documentary filmmaker, I felt like the cat was one of those shots that you were just there and you saw it and you were like, oh, cat in the window. I want there, here, the cat in the window. And then in a few minutes, the cat kind of walks away, away from here. She goes off. And it's one of the most endearing parts of this video. And I wanted to ask you, was the cat an accident? I mean, you couldn't have known she was going to be outside the window. So how did you work her into this whole brand story?
Well, Jessica's cats are very important to her, and those are her babies. So I really wanted to shoot as much as I could of the cats, and they were in and out and around, like watching her. So I basically got all of the 3 shots I think I put of the cat in here. I think I got 4 total. They were all just because I had been shooting or saw the cat and then started shooting it. But I wanted to put the cat
The
in there.
shot of the
So
cat.
I was trying, but they were all accidental. But I was trying.
Cats are very hard to train, so I can imagine. The
Yeah,
thing that I
but
think
it was.
it's unique about the cat is that when we teach branding and personal branding, we always teach that you have to have something kind of weird or quirky that, just kind of makes you stand out. And this video is very good, and you do get Jessica's personality, but there's something about those cat shots that just kind of stops you and it's like, oh, look, there's a cat. So for this video and for Jessica, the cats are kind of that quirky thing in the video that makes her stand out as a brand, I felt like.
Yeah, well, that's her favorite part of the video is when the cat's in there. So
It
it
was
made her
kind of
happy.
my favorite too. Like I kept looking at the cat and going, what is the reason for this cat being here? And then the cat comes back in the end as well and kind of walks down the stairs, which is a really nice way to kind of wrap things up. It's an ending that is going somewhere. It's not a final ending. It's just, kind of a wrap up. So, okay, I have a few more questions here before we take questions from our students. So one of the questions that I had for you was, and I think you kind of talked about this before, but Jessica is so creative and she's about creating things that are unique and inspiring. And you also create a video with the music and the colors and in the cat that's unique and inspiring, I think, to others. When I watched your video, I kind of thought, I want to be creative or I want to make great videos or be artistic in some way. How did you guys kind of get that synergy together? Because I think it's something that's really important when two artists are working together. How did you cultivate that is my question.
I mean, I feel like a lot of that is putting your own brand out there. And instead of being like, I want to make promo videos for people, or it's really saying, this is what I like to make, and if you mesh with that, then let's do something together. So, I mean, it's a lot more risky that way, but if you put yourself out there as a person, as a personality, as an aesthetic, then you're going to I feel like you're going to collaborate more easily with people. Like I love Jessica's whole thing, and so for me, filming it was very easy to do.
Has
And
sorry, go ahead.
no, after you.
I was going to say, has there been anyone who you rejected that you thought, okay, I just can't work with this person? We're too creatively different.
No, there hasn't, but I mean, there's definitely moments where I'm worried and just kind of like, I don't know if I want to do this because, when you shoot a video and then you edit it, I mean, to me, even the editing, even more so, you put your heart and soul into this. It's hard to have people stomp on it and tell you, this, or this, after you think that you've created this thing. So it is a question, like, as an artist, you have to ask yourself. I do know videographers that don't take a lot of creative input in from their clients, and they'll be like, no, this is the way I'm doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have that option, and people will, could potentially still hire you. I am very much that way with the music because I feel like music is one of the most important things for a video, and that's why I like to go with music videos. And the songs I like to buy cost $200 to license a commercial license. So for a person's business, it'll cost $200 for the songs that I like. And a lot of times I'm just like, I'm not willing to negotiate that with someone because I want to pick a song that I love, and I don't want the client to pick a song that I think I don't like, and so then when I watch the video, I don't feel anything.
Right. And I wanted to ask you about the music. So you bring up a good point that you buy this music and they have the license for it for their videos. Where do you get this? Is it a music archive that you use or something you can pass along to our students? It's a good resource. I mean, the music you have here is perfect for this video. So where do you usually go to get this music?
I like using the music bed, and the music bed, if you were to create your own video and you were like, say, a portrait photographer, you could get the songs, I think, for like $50, I think. But because I'm using this music for a commercial person who's using it for commercial purposes, then the licensing fee is more, so that would be $200 at the music bed. If you use Triple Scoop Music, which is another place I like, that will cost you $120 for a commercial license, $60 for a non-commercial. You can also use, let's see, what is the other one that I was just using? Hold on one second. There's some places like Audio, what is it? I can't remember the name. There's songs you can get for $18 too. You don't have to spend that much. I just want that option to find whatever song in any price range, that I want,
That you
basically.
really like. Yeah. So
Yeah,
you use, is the music bed themusicbed.com? Is that their
yeah,
URL? Right. So
yeah.
themusicbed.com,
And
and
then
you mentioned another one, triple switch?
Triple Scope Music.
Triplescopemusic.com.
And then there's also Song Freedom.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one.
Right, because I
Um,
think a lot of people just starting out don't realize that there are whole music libraries where you can buy music. I mean, $200 is still rather inexpensive for a business and definitely worth it for a high quality product. So I
I
think that a lot of people don't realize that there is royalty free music, which you need to use when you're making any kind of professional content. You need to have the rights to use somebody's music that they've created, but there's just really great stuff out there, and I'm very inspired by music as well. So I understand your importance with that, and I think that you mentioned how you have to be inspired, you have to feel something, and you said that this video is kind of coming from your heart and soul. And I want to make the point to the students that when you create from that place, that's when you create great things. That's why this video of Jessica Swift is, it resonates with people, and it's valuable. People like it. I've watched it at least 10 times preparing for this, and I love watching it. I don't get bored with it. I love the music. I love watching Jessica. She's beautiful and she has that beautiful smile. So it's really, really nice. But I think had you not had any feeling about it and you didn't put your heart and soul into it, it would have been a much different piece.
I agree. I mean, I feel like I want to be inspired when I watch my video, and I want to tear up. I want to feel emotional. That's my goal. So if I can feel emotional watching my own videos and I can feel something every time I watch it, then I know I've accomplished what I've set out to accomplish. And that's kind of like, that's the meter that I use.
I wanted to ask you, so when you and I had this little Facebook comment kind of back and forth, and I said, great brand video, I love it, or something like that, and you said, I am a big believer in the brand video. That was one thing that you said to me, and I'd like you to talk about how important do you think it is to have a unique and authentic brand video?
Oh my gosh, I can't even tell you. I mean, there are so many things that are working for a brand video right now. And, video content is the absolute number one marketing buzz phrase right now. Video content, like having video on your website is so important. And I'm a photographer, first and foremost. That's what I started out as, and that's what I truly am. And a lot of photographers have a couple paragraph, about me thing on their website. But if I was going to spend, $5,000 to hire a wedding photographer, I want to know more about them than one little photo and a paragraph. So like having a brand video for that, where someone can just watch you for 2 minutes, I mean, that is just like night and day between a paragraph. So I truly also believe in putting yourself in front of the camera, if you have a business, and a lot of people hate the thought of that, and they don't want to be at the forefront. But a lot of times themselves, if you were to take like an inverted triangle, they put their business or their gear or whatever at the top, and they put themselves as a human being at the very bottom of that triangle. But if you flip that over and put yourself as at the top, whether you're truly like have a star personality or not, but put yourself out there, you're going to draw a lot more to your business that way and become more of a success by putting yourself out there than hiding behind, like, putting yourself at the bottom of the triangle. So that's another reason why I truly believe in having your own brand video and putting, what you believe in your products and your face out there.
That is such amazing advice, and actually advice I need to hear because, and Susan knows that I own a couple businesses, but I'm such an introvert. I'm such an introvert, and it's hard for me to put and I have to force myself, which is a good thing I teach social media because it does force me to kind of be out there and be a public face. And luckily, I'm married to the most outgoing, charming person in the world. So he's like the other half of that, and he kind of carries that load for me. But that's even something that, as a very seasoned business person, I have to force myself to do. And I love your analogy of the triangle and saying, well, put yourself at the top. And you're absolutely right. If we look at really successful people like Gary Vaynerchuk, I make my students watch Gary V, his YouTube videos and stuff like that. He definitely puts himself at the top, and he's all over everything, and he's a huge success. So that is a great pearl of wisdom. Thank you for that. I just want to ask you one last question before I open this up for the students to ask questions. So could you talk a little bit? I think when I met you, you were just maybe starting in photography and that type of thing, and that was in 2008. So what has been your journey with this, from going from somebody who was maybe a novice or dabbling in this to full-on career? And you've worked at Creative Live. You were the host of Creative Live for several years, and now you're the creative director at Filmic Pro and making these amazing videos. How did that whole process work for you?
that it's all pretty incredible, but I think like the number one thing that I did was, even before I set off on that trip where I met you in Nepal, I was like, I'm going to travel the world for a year. I ended up being gone for a year and a half, but I left the United States and I said to myself, I'm never going to do something that I don't love again. So whatever it is, I have no idea what it was. And at that point, I was in mid-30s. I still had no idea what I wanted to do. Mm-hmm. So I basically went off on that mission and said, I'm not coming back until I figure it out. So, then the road just twists and turns. You're like, oh, it's photography. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do wedding photography. I'm going to do portrait photography. I'm going to photograph dogs. I'm going to be a travel photographer. Oh, let me try video. Let me try this. Let me try that. So the road just kind of takes you on this winding trip of creativity, and you're learning different things all the time. And at no point, I guess, what I'm trying to say, at no point should you stop and be like, this isn't what I want to do, because you don't know what the skill that you're learning at the time is going to take you to your final destination and how it's going to help at that point. So I just feel like in the road of creativity and living that life, you just have to be open to all the twists and turns, and know that you're just, it's percolating like whatever, the next thing, you're just growing it out of you. So
the photography just grew out of you, I guess, from the travel in some ways, and then became this. I think that's a great, you make a lot of great points there. And I just brought up to one of my colleagues today that I saw a great quote, and I hate to say this to all of my master's degree students, but the quote is, don't tell me how educated you are, tell me how much you've traveled. But I do think that the traveled is also a metaphor for your life journey. Tell me the journeys that you were willing to take to get to where you are. So in one sense, their education is kind of a journey for them. But I love your story because it was kind of a leap of faith of, this is what I want to do. And you said you were in your middle 30s and you weren't sure, but you just went for it. And now you've obviously found something that you're great at, amazing at. And I love all of the stuff that you've done since I met you in 2008. It's been kind of great following you, and I'm so grateful for social media that I've been able to follow that and follow all of my friends. And now here we are, and we're giving a lecture together to my students here in Florida. And Susan is in Seattle, right, Susan?
Yeah, I am. Thank you, Sandra. That's so sweet. That's really sweet of you to say that. It's been quite a journey.
Yeah.
So, and I'm still on it. Like, that's the only takeaway I would say would just be like, you just make the decision to live your life that way. It's a decision. Like, you kind of can waver and go back and forth and be like, no, I need a regular job, or you just make that decision. Like, I'm just going to do what I love, and the money will figure out a way to come to me, instead of being like, I have to do something I don't love in order to make money. Like, that is the number one thing that I would say I would encourage people to do.
That's absolutely true. Doing what you love. I mean, it's the cliche. Doing what you love every day is the best thing. And it doesn't really, at that point, it doesn't really matter how much you make or you don't make, because every day is a happy day and a good day, and you're fulfilling your life purpose by doing that thing that you're really great at. And that doesn't always have a big dollar sign, but the value of it is way more than what money could buy. I'm glad everybody that I've ever met in Nepal, and I'm going to encourage all of my students to go there because they seem to be living their dreams. So maybe that is Shangri-La, the place that you can kind of find your Your dream. Well, I would like to open up the floor to questions. And what I want to tell the students is you can do the little hand raise thing or you can type in the chat box. But before we do that, let's just finish kind of watching the video again from this point on, from the 1 minute point, and maybe think about some questions that you'll have for Susan. And then if you will chat in the chat box and just chat your name to me. Sorry, we had a pause here. If you'll just chat your name to me, then I'll know to unmute your microphone and you can ask Susan whatever you'd like. So anybody who has questions, feel free to chat your name, type your name in the chat box now, and I will unmute you. Okay, Angel, I see you've got a question. We can always count on Angel Jackson to participate in class. Okay, Angel, I'm going to unmute you. Okay, are you there, Angel? Are you with us?
I think I had myself muted. I'm sorry.
Okay, we
Can you
can
hear
hear
me?
you. What's your question for Susan?
My question is for the video that you did. Are those all photographs, or did you do some video and then use clips from the video, or is this just a series of photographs that you use?
No, it's all video. I don't think it's not like streaming very well, but it's there's no photos in it at all.
Yeah,
That's nice.
it's all
You can watch the video. If it's not streaming, you can go to my Vimeo page and watch it. It's Susan Roderick on Vimeo, and you can probably find the video so you can stream it better.
It is. If you just search Vimeo and then Susan Roderick, it'll come right up. And she actually has a whole portfolio in here of wonderful things to watch. And before I forget to say it, she's got a great video on how to shoot a video with your mobile device or something like that, right, Susan?
Yeah, I have some tutorials in there on how to shoot with your iPhone.
Right. I definitely recommend. They're quick, they're simple, and they get right to the point. And she's got, like I said, I went to film school, and the stuff that Susan is teaching in these videos it's spot on. But you're doing it with your your mobile device. So there was
Yeah.
another question. I think it was Aisha. Aisha, if you have a question, go ahead and raise your hand again, and I'll unmute your microphone. Oh yes, and she does. Okay, Aisha, you're on. Do you have a question for Susan?
Yeah, I was wondering, at any point when you're using the mobile or your phone, do you have a light combo that you use? Any light combo? Because I've kind of seen some things about ring lights and whatever have you. Do you have to use those when you're doing your videos?
No, I'm like a bare minimum person, so there is a flashlight on the app I use, which is called Filmic Pro. There's like you can turn the flashlight on, so you could technically light up something, but I don't. I use mostly all natural light, and I try to have as little gear as possible. Otherwise, it kind of defeats the whole point of using your phone if you had like a big lighting setup and stuff like that. But does that help at all?
No, it does. I guess at any point, I guess the next question would be, so most of the videos that you have recorded, they're basically maybe outside or have like really good natural light in the room, huh?
Yeah, and I'm always looking for the light, and I'm only shooting at times when I can, looking for. I mean, optimally, I would rather have golden light, which would be like sunset or sunrise, to have that really pretty light. But I'm always looking for natural light because I'm not a good lighting person.
No, I'm not either. I want to ask you about that. So you're always using natural light, and do you ever find that difficult living in a climate where there's so much rain and kind of cloudy weather?
I mean, so far, no. Like that kind of weather is kind of a big softbox anyway. So It does create really beautiful light,
Oh, the
you
really
know, to
soft
have that
light,
kind
yeah,
of,
with the rain.
yeah, the kind of soft light.
And with the Jessica video, was that all natural light, or did you have a light?
Yeah, that's all natural light. I mean, her house was really dark, and that was in Portland, and I was just using the window light that was coming in, the small, tiny little window that went down in her basement. So you
Wow.
don't really need that much. I mean, I do have really nice lenses, so I use a Canon 5D Mark II to film.
Hmm.
And I have a 51.2, so I can get into really low light situations in natural light with that kind of setup.
Hmm. Yeah, the lighting is really nice in that. And I thought it was natural light, but because it seemed like a basement, I was kind of like, how did she get this? So that looks
Yeah, it's all
great.
the window.
Okay, we have
It's
another
pretty
question
much because of that.
because
Oh,
of the
go ahead.
window.
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's pretty much because of my lens. Actually, that sounds really bad, but it's the lens that makes it
Like,
that brings in that much light.
it's not me, it's the lens. Good. Well, that's good
Hmm.
to know, though.
I know you should never say that. I know, but thanks for your questions, ladies. I appreciate it, Angel and
Kamaria Glover, you have a question?
Yes. I wanted to know how you found your own brand and how you portray that in your videos.
that is such a great question. Um, Well, I found my brand because I was a photographer, so I knew what type of photos I like to take, and I usually would go really close to things and like pretty details. Like even when I was a wedding photographer, I would just skip the bride and groom and go to like the details table, be taking photos of napkins and things like that. So I really liked details, and that kind of became my aesthetic as a photographer. And then when I moved into video, I just used that style that I already kind of had. So, I mean, that probably takes, time and whatever, like to cultivate a style, but I think you just find it, by just doing it, I think.
Good. That was a great question. I got another question here on chat from Keisha, and I'll see if she wants to actually ask it herself. Keisha, you're on. Do you want to ask your question to Susan? So I don't know. Maybe there might be something wrong with her microphone. She chatted it to me, so I'm just going to go ahead and ask it. So Keisha says, I was wondering, is the point of a brand video to capture the client in their work element or promoting what they do in their field? Also, is the Sony Cam that we have sufficient to use if you don't want to use an iPhone? So, okay, well, we'll answer the first part first. So her question was, is the point to capture the client in their work element or promoting what they do in their fields?
I think it's both. I think you want to show both. You like to show them in their element what they do, and then you're also promoting them for some reason. But the thing about a brand video is just putting yourself out there and showing what you do is your brand, and that does support your business because it gets people interested in you. And, if you have, I don't know what the statistic is, but if you have video on your website, people are more likely to click through and look at other things on your site, and that would take them to product or service or something that you're selling. So just to have that video on your site will draw more people into kind of like what you're trying to sell, basically.
And I think that there's the trust as well. That when they actually see that you're a live person, especially online, there's that trust building element with it. With, oh, okay, these are real people, or this is a real person, and I think she looks nice, or he looks nice, and that type of thing. It's kind of the first step in building that relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
So the second part of her question was, as the Sony Cam, all of the students get a Sony Cam. They get it, a Sony Cam, and I think an iPod when they start the program. So it's like a Sony Handycam. And her question was, is the Sony Cam we have sufficient to use, or to use if you don't want to use an iPhone? So I think maybe the question that she's asking is, so you have two very different devices here. What is the difference between shooting with a camera, a video camera, and shooting with your phone in terms of quality? What's your opinion about that?
Well, I mean, I personally think it's more important to just start creating videos and putting videos out there, and it doesn't really matter what you shoot it shoot them with. So I mean that's why I am a proponent for iPhone videos or any kind of Android. I mean all of our mobile devices take video now. So whether you have a handy cam or a Sony cam or a DSLR, the aesthetics will be different. But you can get different gear. Like I mean I have a thing called an iPro lens kit, which isn't cheap. It's like $200, and it comes with a few different lenses, but it can change your iPhone footage. You can do wide angle, or you can do a telephoto for your iPhone.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, gear is expensive, so if you just have a phone, I recommend using that. All of the gear that I use as a photographer, you know, I invested like when I first started my photography business, I invested like 10 grand into gear. So that's what I'm using for my video because I'm looking for a certain look. So you can go anywhere from getting a cell phone plan to spending 10 grand on video gear. And I don't even have a video camera like a typical like real video camera. I have like a DSLR that shoots video. So I mean the range of the aesthetic you like and the range of price and gear is crazy. So it's most important just to like start shooting with whatever you have.
Right. And I would agree with that. And there are a lot of adapters now that you can get for your iPhone. And like you said, Filmic Pro is an app that you can actually download onto your phone. And it gets, what does Filmic Pro do exactly in the app? I haven't tried it myself, but does it change the look of the video, or what exactly does it do for the aesthetic of the video?
Well, it's more for like a maybe high end shooters. So it's not a basic app. It's more for like you have the most manual control from your iPhone that you possibly can with video, which means you can focus. You have a different reticle that you can move the focus around the screen. You can basically change up the exposure, so you can manually do that. I mean, there's filters. There's all kinds of audio options. It's pretty much just like a full-on video camera. So you can change your frame rate, so you could do slow motion or you could do fast motion.
Mm-hmm.
You can do a lot of different things with the app, but it basically is going to give you just a lot more range as far as what the native camera can do for you.
Right. Yeah. So it does sound like that would be a great substitution rather than invest that $10,000 in equipment to get an app, maybe
Pretty much.
type of a lens, an adapter lens, and you've got, I used to, we've done away with the course, but a few months ago I was teaching a course called mobile journalism. I can't even remember what the name was now, but the whole point of the class was to teach students how to shoot and produce, you know, journalism quality stories with their mobile device, and those were the types of things that they were looking into. So that would be great. I didn't know about Filmic Pro back then. So we had another question. Did you what editing software did you use for the video?
I used Premiere Pro.
Premiere Pro. Okay.
I use Premiere Pro, but I mean
laptop.
They all do.
Yeah.
I mean, then do they have Macs or PCs?
Yeah, all get issued a MacBook Pro, and it does have Premiere Pro on it, and it also has iMovie.
Oh.
So that was one of the things
Nice.
Students asked is which did she move it in. Premiere Pro is software that people who want to do more professional editing use. iMovie is good too if you want to do simple videos, like Susan was saying. Just get it out there. Get it done. Get it out there. You can make a lot of great stuff in iMovie. I actually use the iMovie app all the time. I shoot a video with
there you go.
I edit it in iMovie from the app, and I upload it to YouTube right there because I don't have that time to I don't have any free time. So I don't have time to waste. I got to shoot on the go. And so that's what I do for my own blog. Great. Do we have any other questions out there for Susan?
Yeah, I'll just say that it's never been easier. I mean, you don't need Premiere Pro. iMovie works great. Mm-hmm. My basic kit, what I would recommend is to get I get this little thing called the Joby Grip Tight, which probably costs like $30 or something. It's a little mini tripod for an iPhone because stabilizing the phone is important. And then I have a Rode Smart Lav, like a microphone, and that's basically my kit. I just have a microphone and I have something to stabilize my phone.
and that's it. Yeah. And
And then I could
the,
do,
the
yeah,
phone
any video.
stabilizer would have worked out great as I was periscoping tonight and trying to figure out how to set this up, and I realized I didn't even have a tripod for my phone, and why didn't I have that? So there's more than just videoing. If you're going to do periscoping, which is a big social media app that's up and coming, if you guys aren't on Periscope, you should get on there now. You want to be an early adopter, but you can use it for so many different things. And I know the journalism students know that they must always shoot with a tripod. So you can definitely get one for, what did you say, like $30 or $40, right, Susan? You can get a nice.
Yeah, it's called the Joby Grip Tight Micro Stand, I think.
Do you know how to spell it? Is it Jobie?
Joby. I'll put the link in the thing. Hold on one second.
Okay.
Joby Grip Tight Micro Stand. Richie, my Rhodesian Ridgeback is crying at me. Hold on one second. Okay. Let me find it. No, stop.
Well, Susan is finding that. Do we have any last questions? Anybody want to type anything in the chat box, or if you want to raise your hand on the dashboard? Angel, you got another question? Okay, I'll unmute you. Go ahead,
Yes,
Angel.
I know it's getting late. The question I have for Susan is, do you normally go with some of your same sort of shots, or how creative do you get each time you get a new client? Do you look for different ways to shoot, or is there something that you stick with that you know works?
Yeah, it's mostly just I stick with what I like. So I like to shoot things at really shallow depth of field, and I like to shoot things blurry. So I'll take a shot and just shoot the whole scene completely out of focus because I think that looks cool. So I just know what I like, and I just keep doing the same thing. And if I come up with something new, then that's good too. But I do have certain tricks, I guess.
That's good advice. That's good to know. Because I imagine that some people think I have to shoot a certain style because I think this is what the client wants, or mixing up the style. But it seems like what you're saying is what works for you and what you can do your best at. So you stick with that style, but then maybe individualize it to the story of whatever you're trying to tell for the client, whatever their story is. Like those close-ups that you said you like to get in the shallow depth of field and that type of thing, which says Susan Roderick. I mean, at some point, people are going to look and go, oh, that looks like a Susan Roderick video because of that style.
Well, yeah, I mean you're shooting what you like. Like you're gonna shoot it because it's what you want to be doing. It's like what is your art?
Yeah,
that's what I like to do. So I think it's important to stay true to that. Like maybe you don't know what that is yet, and that's fine too. But be on the lookout for what it is, and if you do know what it is, then be true to that.
I want to make a point to the students here. You're a photographer, and you look at being true to your art and that type of thing. I'm not a photographer. I am a documentary filmmaker. I'm a great storyteller. And even though I know how to make films and I know the technical parts of it, and I may have a good eye here and there, I am not a great videographer. And I think that people need to kind of look at that and go, okay, well, I might not be great at, capturing things. Some people just have a really good eye. But if you know the techniques, like if you look at Susan's tutorials or anything that you've learned, especially the journalism students have production classes, and you follow those rules of photography and the rules of capturing video, you can still create a great product. It may not be art. You may never look at it as art, but sometimes the art isn't actually in the video or the photography. The art might be in the storytelling. So you have to find out what you're good at as well. And go with that. And I keep thinking of that because I'm looking at her video going, I don't know if I would have seen that. I don't know if I would have known to, sort of start with unfocus and then, focus in or that type of thing. It's a technique that people who really do have a good eye for photography and art, they have it. And that's why some people are are great at photography, and others of us just take, selfies and put them on our Instagrams, like me. So, but
Yeah, but that works too. Just keep doing it. That works too.
it's working for me. But I do know how to tell a great story, and that's what that's why I have been successful with the documentaries and things like that. It wasn't because of particularly the photo aesthetic of it. Okay, well, Susan, thank you so much for talking to our class, and we've videoed this, or we've archived it, so we will have a video for it for everyone. Anybody who needs that link that Susan has put up for some of the equipment, go ahead and shoot me an email. You can also get me on Twitter. It's at BKSandra. I'm going to put it in the chat box. And Susan, if you want to put any kind of contact for the students, if they need more information, go ahead and feel free to type it in the chat box. She's at filmicpro.com, and her website is susanroderick.com. And as you can see here with Vimeo, she's here on Vimeo, and she's got a great portfolio up there. So thanks everybody for attending. I appreciate your attendance, and especially to you, Susan, for coming online. I know you're very busy and you're off to North Carolina or something like that tomorrow to shoot something. Yeah. So thank you for taking your time to join us.
All right. Well, thanks a lot. I really appreciate everyone listening, and you guys have a good evening. Thanks a lot, Sandra.
Yeah, you're welcome. Have a good evening, Susan. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.